just right in each little sound bite has me at the
It
core
makes
of
me like
everything.
twitch,
Anyway,
you guys. Like literally, I get the files and I'm like, how dare you? How dare you?
I'm like, I put it on speaker mode, but I didn't put it on, I didn't pin the speaker. So anyway,
Between the speaker. Okay, so hi. So it's been a minute since we did our last session about editorial calendars, content creation, all of that. So before we get started today, because it's been a minute, I do want to check in with everyone and see where we're at, see how you feel about the homework and what's come up since. So if we can just kind of go around the room, we'll do Jen's suggestion, roses and thorns. So if you got a rose, share it. If you've got a thorn, share it. Jenny, since I don't know if Tracy, if you've done Roses and Thorn with us before, but basically it's where you share either a win and something that you've done really well, or something that you're really excited that you've accomplished since we last chatted. Or Thorn is kind of like Eve mentioned, like this is something I'm struggling with. I really need either even Crystal's help with, or I want to put it out to the group. If it's something that we can answer quickly, we'll address it as we go. And if not, if it's something that like I need longer, I'll write it down and we come back at the end towards Q&A to kind of go into things a little more in depth. So with that being said, Renee, do you mind kicking us off?
and then before Renee kicks us off, sorry to interrupt, but just because I don't know if Renee or Jen knows Jenny, like, do you want to start with just Jenny starting, just introducing herself and just saying a little bit?
That's a fabulous idea.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, Miss Jenny Hope, no pressure, spotlight. You're pinned.
Love being pinned. It's no problem. I'm Jenny Hope, and Eve and I work together on multiple different productions and companies and have known each other for almost 20 years now. So I know. So I have been doing marketing for my brother's company and didn't realize there was this whole world that I could tap into and learn about, what you guys are doing, get into AI and get more clients. So that's where I am. And right now, we're fishing in the Four Corners region, in Durango, Colorado.
Nice. Awesome.
That's it. I'm excited to be here.
We're stoked to have you. Super stoked. I might risk Renee. Let me pin you because we're pinning everyone. So give us a rose, a thorn, what you got, what you've been doing, what you're working on, what do you need help with?
I've got a love-hate relationship going on with my book, and I don't know if it's a rose or a thorn just yet.
Okay.
But I finally got my children's book finished.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks. So my priority right now is getting the press release done and doing some marketing surrounding the release of the book.
Mm-hmm.
I created a little book trailer online, which was super fun and easy if no one's ever used, I think it was Animoto or something like that, Animoto app. It was super easy and fun to do. And so I've just got to plan the launch now. I've got to plan to get it in the bookstores. I've got to plan to do some book signings. I'd like to do some local events around Montana, and so that's my focus right now.
Awesome. And what do you need help with specifically? What if you had one question or one kind of topic that you would want to focus on?
Press release that Eve, you've looked at that we can talk about at some point, and scheduling my little promotional tour as if that's it. I don't know. That's a pretty big word. That's doing a lot of work there, tour, but get a plan together to do some of the marketing and in-person events. So yeah.
Awesome.
That's my priority right now.
And we'll, Renee, because I think it's valuable to everyone, because we'll all do press releases at some point, or we'll do a little bit on the press release today, but then I want to do more with you and really go through it. And we'll jump back to that, just so you know. So we will talk a little bit about press releases today.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome to use mine as an example if you want to, because I learned a lot just from your paragraph of feedback that you gave me. Like, oh, you've got to have a story with your press release. That makes more sense. Because I just wrote it about the book.
No, that's fantastic.
There's
I mean,
no-
if you've never
anyway,
done
we can get
press
into that.
releases, why would
I
you
don't-
know, right?
I don't,
Like,
yeah.
so,
Like, I don't know. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for that. All right, Miss Tracy, what you got?
Oh, well, I'm a little out of the loop, because I've been, sorry for my squirming, the dog keeps moving. Because I've been out of commission, moving and doing shows and blah, 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 blah. But I am exactly in the same place that Renee is. So thank you, Renee, for being out in front. And I just wrote down the Animoto app. So I actually had to fire my illustrator for my book and hire a new illustrator, but it turns out it's somebody from my beginning days in television who was my art director. And it is the best thing. It's always that thing where the most stressful thing that happens where my illustrator is not rising to the occasion. And which I'd lost so much sleep and I was just a mess over, turned out to be the greatest thing ever. So I'm so freaking excited about that. But I am probably about 2 months away from publishing. And yeah, so Renee, we're in the same boat because I'm out there doing art festivals every fucking weekend. Um, I have a base for marketing, which is super helpful. And at the same time, obviously, I too need to get into the independent bookstores, and I too need to do a press release, and I too need to do all of the marketing that introduces the book to people. I'm not going to be meeting in person at the art festivals. So that's what I am doing. My social media sucks. I haven't wanted to do it. Still hate it. But you guys motivate me immensely. So I'm so happy that I'm able to be with you guys today. And but big wins, I've pre-sold over 400 copies of the book to date, and I'm really proud of myself because I put a $30 price tag on it and no one blinks. And
Fantastic.
that's what I'm learning is that as much disruption as there is in television, every kind of job and structure that we've grown accustomed to, that it's all being disrupted. And so when we're told, your book can only sell for $12.95 or something, it's like, yeah, no, this is $30. It's a hardback book. It's first edition, signed, copied, and people don't flinch. And so that's been amazing to just own it. And you know what? This is 2 years in the making of this book. So that's what I'm learning. I'm also learning I've already had to learn that from pricing my artwork. And I price my artwork higher than other people.
Good.
And people buy it. My audience buys it. Other people who aren't my audience, they don't buy it. So that's been cool. So I share that with all of us as women to not continue to be devaluing ourselves, literally and figuratively devaluating ourselves.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
that's amazing. Let me jump in just because I want to just add a couple things to what you said. The fact that you pre-sold a bunch of your books is what is amazing, and would love to learn more about that. Well, for Renee, because I think that's awesome. And what you did is you went and engaged the field. And I'm just going to start using a lot of the terminology that we're getting from our coaching group. And I want you guys to start following on social the Success Finder. So that is a big part of our coaching group. There's several of them, right? So there's many people own the Success Finder. They also happen to be clients of Crystal and I's now. They hired us to do their social media. And you just said something, and I don't even know if it has come up as been posted yet, but you said something of a post that we recently just did. And it's like, there's what people tell you, and then there's your data. So people can tell you, you can't sell your book for more than $15, Tracy. All right. That might be their experience. But you did. So you just moved the needle and you just raised the bar. And they always say, raise the floor, not the ceiling. And I love that. So nice. So start following the Success Finder. And you'll learn a lot because their whole mission is to take entrepreneurs and they're interviewing them and then taking that data or taking that information and putting it out there. And eventually there's going to be a website. Right now we're just in the launch of the socials, and you guys will get a lot of good tips. I mean, I told Crystal, as much as like the amount of work that we're doing for them, it's all worth it in the sense that we are learning so much by chopping up these interviews and listening to all these tidbits of these people. Some of them I've heard of, some of them I haven't, but I'm just like, it's like fire hose to the face of lots of good information. So
yeah, we definitely have this incredible privilege of being at like a front row seat to these conversations. I think that like, you know, most people don't ever really get access to, and then being part of the distribution is really exciting. Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Eve said. Like there's data, there's standards, and then there's what works for you. You know, and I think like we've all experienced this, even as from a health perspective, there's like health standards, and then there's what's normal for you and making that make sense. So I love that you went with your gut, priced accordingly, regardless of what people say you can or can't do, because clearly it worked for you. So that's huge. I just wanted to take a second to congratulate you. And pre-selling 400 books is incredible, incredible. So congratulations. That's outstanding.
and
Okay.
if you priced them at $30 and they didn't sell, then you had data, exactly what
Yeah.
Crystal just said. And then you could go in and lower and do it, you know? So it's a lot easier. I mean, I don't know if it's easier to lower the prices or raise it, but it's like, you know, I think when Crystal and I first started, you know, what we were charging or what we wanted to charge for our monthly retainer, I mean, we've tripled it. Like you know, and so again, it was like, okay, this person's paying this much. Whew.
Just to speak to that really quickly, I did the same thing with commissions. I mean, Eve knows that, you know, when I started as an artist, and I didn't believe I was an artist, and people, you know, wanted commissions, I charged $495 for a commission. I thought was outrageous. Like, how could I even charge $495 for something when I'm not even an artist? Now I charge $1,500. I do the same number of commissions a year, which is only about 4 because it's all I can really handle. And then I just had my latest commission. She freaked out over it so much in a good way that she's now spent another $500 buying canvas and prints of the. So it's like I raised it and then I raised it again, and nothing changed in terms of how many people wanted it.
That's
It's
fantastic.
terrifying, but there's what I've learned, and this goes across all industries. If you undercharge, the value is perceived to be less. So if
Yes.
someone loves your work, and this really, you know, it speaks to all of us. If someone loves your work and they're like, oh my God, I have to have that. And you go, well, it's $12.95. Their brain goes, oh, it's not worth much. And they turn and they go the other way. But if they love it and they come up, and this is how I learned to price my art, was if they love it and they want it, and it might be a little higher than what they thought it was going to be, they will find a way to pay that. So it's a whole mindset. And as women, we're taught the opposite, just make it cheap, make your salary lower, make everything lower. And just to get people to want what you have. And I've just learned this from being on the planet for a long time now.
Sorry for that interruption and that great, what you just said.
That was fantastic. I think, we talked a lot about this kind of throughout our time together, about how like what we're selling isn't what we're selling, like what we think we're selling isn't what we're selling. And that's so much proof of people buy based on emotions, people buy based on how you make them feel. And price is usually not the issue. It's not the issue that we think it is, I guess, because if they believe that there's the value there for them and they believe it's going to positively impact their life, whether it's a service and you're getting them to say the next level in their business, or a piece of art that makes them feel something that they connect to, that they will get that joy every time they look at it. Like that's what you're selling really, is that emotion, more so than the product itself. So fantastic work, Tracy, like fantastic work. Awesome. All right, Miss Jen, via phone today.
Hey, everybody, and Jenny, nice to meet you. The third little part of bud, roses and thorns, I think I forgot to mention, is a bud. So just throwing that out there, if anybody has an idea that's kind of blossoming and it's not fully formed yet, or you're experiencing something that feels like a bud, you can throw that in there as well. So I'm going to go with a bud first, and that is a collaboration I'm working on for August, a one-day retreat with a dear friend and woman whose business aligns with my offering. And so that's called Seed, and it's a full-day retreat of hand making a journal and writing and yoga and amazing food and this gorgeous location surrounded by nature. And what's been really great is to see how people are responding to it and how much fun it's been to collaborate, and the boost I get from collaborating and having access to the support and the social media and the knowledge of someone who's been in business for 30 years, plus her design team and all of that. So learning so much from that collaboration and opportunities to grow that. So it's taking a lot of work, but we're trying to build something that will have legs. And so learning a lot about kind of the power of going at things with someone else instead of alone, and joining forces. So that's been really fun. And then I'd say a rose has been my newsletter. I continue to have like a 75% open rate. I only have like 1 or 2 people unsubscribing each time. And I love doing it because I'm writing and I'm telling personal stories from my life that always then end with a prompt. And so I think now that I've written 9 newsletters, I think I'm really starting to get into the flow of what works for my readers. They want my stories, and then they want them to kaleidoscope out into a prompt that is applicable to their life. So that's been really rewarding. I think my thorn is most clearly identified through reading The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And I think I'm a little late to the party. I'm looking right now. It was published in 2009, and maybe you all know it, but I had read recently about his idea about the upper limit problem. I'm not sure if you're all familiar with that, but it's this idea that we kind of unconsciously back off of success just as we're beginning to reach it. And there are kind of 4 main reasons why we might sabotage ourselves like that. And so I'm working through these 4 questions that he has people ask and answer in writing to try to understand sort of why I'm doing that. I mean, I could talk about specific challenges in my business, but when I really get quiet with myself and kind of settle in, I think I'm holding myself back unconsciously or subconsciously every time I'm seeing success out there. And so I've got to really keep working with his concepts and his book to understand that, because I think that's at the heart of kind of a stop-start, I feel, with the business at large.
Awesome.
So, today, Crystal, what did you want to go over? Because I definitely wanted to, and thank you for that, Jen. That was good. I have a bud, but I'm going to wait because it just formed. I haven't even talked to Crystal about it, but this thing just came up. But first, Crystal, just tell me what you were going to go over, because I want to definitely talk about press releases and then share my bud with all you guys, because it involves all you guys.
And apparently me too, because I had no idea. I think because I know that I think 3 out of the 4 of you are writing books or in the process of writing books or want to go down that route. I do think press releases might be a good way to spend the next little bit of our time. I think this catch-up session was really great to kind of get a feel for where everyone is and what the next step is. And it kind of seems like a lot of you guys are on the same, like, we just need to level up and get our social media. So I think if we can do press releases today, then next session, I think we want to go back into, and I'll get the replay for you, Tracy, from the editorial calendar call, which I think Jen actually has, because she was kind enough to record for me because I could not get my computer to work that day. And I'll get that up so you can get caught up, so that we can then start talking about what to do with that content, scheduling it out, and creating a plan for you that feels sustainable. And as that is all I've been doing for the past month, is literally just planning content out the whole time. I think it's going to be really, really beneficial. So if it's okay with everyone, I think let's look at the press release stuff for today, because I think it would be kind of overall beneficial. And then we can go into specific Q&A. I think, Renee, for your book tour, I think that's something that we should do on a one-on-one. I think we should tackle that kind of privately. And Tracy has just such great news. And then Jen, I think too, will do some work on our one-on-one on a lot of that as well. So if that sounds good to everyone, Eve, if you don't mind taking over and doing some press release stuff, that would be fantastic.
Sure. I can do a little. I'm not really prepared to do a whole bit, but I can do some of it, just because I would want to show you guys a prompt in it. So let's back before we get into that, couple of announcements that I think will be useful to you guys. So can you guys see my new dog?
That's the biggest announcement.
So that's Apollo.
He's adorable.
He's 7 months old and he is the love of my life. I love him so much. Anyway, so I just saw him. So I was like, oh my God, you guys can see him. So he was a rehome situation. I didn't adopt him, but I did get him from a rehome. No judgment if you bought your dog, but I do judge, sorry. Little tidbit into Eve. So just to keep you guys up on some AI stuff too, because we're going to try to, always include some AI stuff. And I think where I will just wing it today is sharing my screen and doing some stuff with Renee's press release and kind of showing you how I would do that, because I can go back to the one that I did. But so there's 3 generative AI tools. And when I say generative AI, that is like your ChatGPT, your Google Gemini, and also there's another one called Claude. I always say Claude, Claude.
Yep, en français, Claude. I had an uncle, Monsieur Claude.
Claude.
And
so Claude, I think it's Claude, but anyway, just upgraded and it is proving to be fantastic. So you can play with the free version of it. It does stop you after a little bit, but just kind of dive into that. If you're into ChatGPT, that's great. I'm not saying cancel your thing. Obviously, Crystal and I have subscriptions to all of them because that's what we do. But we are finding that there's some pretty cool outputs coming out. It's a little bit more advanced with actually getting a voice or a tone. So again, a lot of what we're doing is, thanks, Crystal. She just put the link in the chat. We're working with clients and each of them have their own tone or their own voice with social. And so that we're finding it's doing some really good output. So anyway, just kind of an FYI to kind of play with that and just see where that goes.
Yeah, and actually, sorry to interrupt, but I do want to bring up that we do have an AI specific event tomorrow that I believe everyone's invited to.
Oh yeah, 100%. So
I will pop the link to that. It's literally, well, you tell them about it. I will get the link for them.
yeah. So, and this is, well, Tracy knows Laurel. So Laurel used to work at the List a long time ago, and she went off on her own about 6 years ago and started teaching Facebook ads. And she is completely, and I know, I think I've talked to you guys individually about her at different points, but she's very successful in what she does. She's an online coach. She is in that Success Circle group, Success Finder. And you know, it's one of those like huge success stories of she just kind of took, and what's interesting of everything that she learned in television, like her, before she came and worked at the List, she did a lot of stuff that was promoting the news. And within that, like she kind of took what she learned in promoting the 11 o'clock news and turned it into kind of her strategy, which has evolved, and she's amassed quite a following and is very, very successful. And so she has a group that's called her $7 group. And basically that's a low ticket coaching group. She also has a high ticket coaching group. But so she has about 4,000 people that are in her $7 coaching group. She actually capped it at 4,000. And now there's a waiting list to get into that group. But she has invited Crystal and I in to teach something involving AI the last Thursday of every month at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah.
And so you guys, because you guys are part of our group, are always invited to that. And we'll also start putting the link to that. A lot of times Laurel doesn't even come. It's just, she just has us just jump in. And so, and then if she can be there, she will. But we are actually putting that recording on our YouTube. And so we'll start sharing that. So you guys, if you can't be there live, you guys can always go back and look at it. Tomorrow, what we're going to be sharing is a couple of, well, 3 AI tools. One of them being Opus. So we've already kind of taught you guys Opus, but if you guys want to refresh, we never teach it the same, right? So there'll be a little lesson on Opus in there. And then we're also going to show Udio, which is going to be part of my bud that I'm going to share with you guys in a second. I love this rose thorn bud analogy, or whatever you want to call it, because it's so clever. And Udio is basically a program that allows you to make music. And not that I want to be a musician in any sense, but what we're doing with it is teaching it, because a lot of people that are in Laurel's group and in our space, they do podcasts, and you can create your own stings, your own intros, your own whatever in this program that is very specific to whatever, you know, you're doing, which I love. And it's actually fantastic. And you, right now, it's, I don't know if they're still saying they're in their beta, but to do a 30-second piece, it's free. So the only time you have to pay is if you want to upgrade to do a longer. And so when it comes to podcasts, I don't think you would have to do anything longer than 30 seconds. And then we're also going to show, because Crystal and I are in the world of thumbnails, which getting on YouTube is something that I know we've talked about with you guys. It is something that if you don't have a YouTube channel, please just go set one up. Don't think of it as a channel that we're going to get people to come tune into your channel. Think of it as it's going to help with your SEO in the future, because Google is or YouTube is the second largest search engine next to Google. And so if you guys are doing interviews on Zoom and you're putting it on YouTube, and again, we'll go over that more, then linking back to your website or your landing page or even posts, it is going to help with your SEO and driving traffic. So it's a tactic. It doesn't have to be fancy, but it is absolutely imperative that you guys start doing that. So if you don't have a YouTube channel, just go create one. We'll go over it more. We'll have more lessons on it. We have a client that we have a YouTube channel for, that anything that we create, we are putting on YouTube, whether it's a YouTube short or long format. People aren't going to go check out their channel for content. It's not about that. Like, the content that we're producing is very promotional. It is absolutely for SEO. So just start doing it. It's just something that, just do it and engage the field, and we'll get more into the weeds on that at a different time for that. So you guys all got the link. Again, we'll also put the link in the next newsletter, or put it in our group, so you guys can watch it if you can't be there tomorrow. Okay, so before I go into the pod, or the press release, so I had an idea, especially when Tracy and Renee were sharing, that I think this is how we can support each other and kind of also help grow this group. And because you guys are both in your journey of writing children's books, and yet you both do other things, I would love if you guys would get on Zoom and interview each other and have a conversation. And maybe if we facilitate you guys each are going to ask each other 5 questions, and keep it simple, like whatever the 5 questions are, what you guys would want to know from each other. You know, Tracy, you come from a very entertainment background, and your journey into where you are at is very different than Renee's. And Renee comes from a very entrepreneurial background. When I met Renee, she had her own business and doing video, and that's where Renee and I met and had done some projects together, and then even saw her transition into her dog treat business, you know. So it's, you guys both come from such a very unique and successful background on different sides. For you guys to come in and just pick each other's brains, record it, because I think there's something that you guys can have, if you record this Zoom, can start producing content that will work on both of your socials. And one of the things that Crystal and I are going to get into, not today, but we're going to run you guys through this before we actually are going to start offering it separately to, you know, either a new group or looping into this group, is because Crystal and I have gone and engaged the field, and we have been we're up to 5 different clients that are all asking us to do the same thing, and it's producing a massive amount of content quickly. We have come up with a strategy and a system to do that we're able to do it. I mean, when I went and spoke in Missoula, one of the things that I said to the group, and this isn't to brag, it just is a fact, that Crystal and I are now making, if not almost the same amount of money that we were making in television, more, right? And we're doing it, 2 of us. We're doing it with tools that are not expensive, and we have hardly any overhead because we're working from home. And we've hacked the system with our knowledge from content production to social media to Crystal's influencing, and have come up with almost like, it's not completely done, but it's almost done, of, all right, we have X amount of time to give to each client. How are we going to get the most bang for our buck and get content going? And we've kind of done it. And it starts with an interview. So using different AI and taking that interview, and the reason we're doing that interview is because it's original content, it's original voice. It's not going into generative AI and saying, hey, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever, write me a blog on children's books that I can put on my website. Then it just takes from the ocean of content that's already out there. If you start with an interview, it is original content. And then we take that transcript and we take that and we piecemeal it into not only video clips, not only stuff that works well on LinkedIn, but different methods for both Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And we're doing it to where we're pumping out so much content each day for each client, right? So I'm going to baby step you guys and say, why don't we start with you guys interviewing each other? You don't have to say yes or no now, but it's kind of an assignment. It's a soft suggestion of a soft command. I'm suggesting something that is actually, I'm trying to think of what my AA sponsor used to tell me. They're not suggestions, they're soft commands.
You all have the illusion of choice, but you're doing it, is basically what you're trying to say.
No, it sounds good. What would be the outcome of the interview to provide information for others who want to do their own children's books? What's the end goal for the audience?
No, that's a great question. So this is where Crystal and I will help each of you come up with the questions, because that's what we'll do. So we'll give, I don't want to do it together because I want the answers to be organic, right? Some of them we might give you ahead of time because there's a lot of things that work well in hooks on social media. And it's answering a question, starting off with the number one mistake I made
Right.
when I was writing my children's book was
I
the number one thing I wish I knew before, right? So we can give you
Okay.
those so you can answer them very quickly.
I
And
see.
the goal of it is I want to start giving you guys and using this hour to help and do it like, well, we'll do it with everyone, but we'll start with you guys, right? Because I want it to be a forcing function where it's actually going to give you guys content that you guys can start using because you guys are there right now. And I think we'll figure out the rhythm of this, we'll get you guys going, and maybe next week or the next time we meet, we'll do Jen, and you guys make sense to do it together, right? Maybe Jen
Sure.
interviews Crystal because there's some synergy there. Maybe I interview and Jenny and I interview each other because there's some synergy there, right? So it needs to make sense.
But just so I can clarify, but the outcome of what we are doing, questions aside, doesn't matter what exactly they are, but that is it so that we kind of begin to present ourselves as children's book authors, now experts teaching other or giving other people, I mean, our experience, obviously, but is
Right.
it kind of positioning us as experts? Like when you and Crystal go and talk, about AI and stuff, you're positioning yourself as experts,
Correct.
right? Is that the same goal for us, or is the goal different? Do you understand?
No, I totally understand. So let
Okay.
me answer that because there's a couple of different answers, because that is one. The second goal is we're going to teach this group using you guys how to produce an exceptional amount of content for your social medias. So you guys do this interview. It is going to serve as you are positioning yourselves as experts, but then we're going to use your interview and show you how we will cut it up and make it into content for both of your social medias. So it's acting as a forcing function because I want to give you guys content. So you guys all went out and did interviews on your own, and you guys have that content. And that was a question that Crystal and I were talking about, that you guys came back saying, hey, we have all this content now, what do we do with it? And I'm like, we're going to teach them the same method that we are using with our clients. And so Jenny will get her caught up so you're in the loop and you have an interview that you can use. And we're going to show you guys how to start growing your social medias with content that we're using for our clients. And you guys will actually have it. So you'll have the content. You'll have something to actually go home and use it for.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of give you guys, and you know how I like to look at that 5-year view, just to give you guys an example, Eve did an interview with one of our clients, was it last week, I think, and just on the transcript alone, I'm not even including the video, I made a transcript of it. Just on the transcript alone, I have about 3 months worth of content in various content types already, just by going through and using AI to pick out key moments, pick out key things. I literally was able to create an entire LinkedIn strategy using AI, using Claude, using this transcript. And that's not even touching the video component. So I know it's kind of hard to say, well, what's the point and where is this all going? I hope it's you guys trust us, like kind of a trust the process and trust that we're guiding you in the right direction. But to Eve's point about it all starts with an interview. We really need to remember, and Eve talks about this all the time, so I'll say it just so you don't have to repeat it again, how, you know, with everyone moving on to AI and content starting to like look the same and sound the same, there's going to be ramifications for AI generated content that is just copy pasted, right? Like it's the same crap over and over again. It always uses the same words. So these interviews become a huge differentiator in the scope of content creation, especially going forward. You know, and I talked to, I think, Renee about this last time. When you scroll on your phone, you assume that everything you see is being created by a human, right? You're like, well, it's probably Crystal posted that, you know? We're not far away from everyone assuming that what's being posted is being posted by AI, because it's just becoming that prevalent, that accessible, that affordable, right? So these moments of interview, of voice, of experience and sharing perspective, all of those things add to the foundation of a longer lasting brand. So when we talk about AI, we talk about it as a tool and as an assistant, but never as a replacement. So that's why because I even remember when he was like, we need to do interviews. I'm like, why wouldn't I just write it? I'm like, because that conversation that happens organically, all of that becomes this incredible basis for something that lasts a test of time, because there are going to be people that are going to come up and out of nowhere with AI content, and then they're going to fall just as fast as they rose. So this is definitely a marathon, not a sprint, but it's a marathon that's going to sustain you forever, because we are putting in the work by having these conversations and then using the AI to repurpose them. So I just wanted to jump in. I know Eve talks about that a lot, so I thought I would take that off your plate just for today to go over it, about the fact that we are getting penalized as a internet marketing group if we take that extra step to make sure the content.
Yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Thank you.
Sure, and like you said, we are going to be teaching you the whole process. So once we show you what you can do with just a transcript, it'll blow your mind. So to get those interviews done, ladies.
And we will probably do that in 2 weeks. Is just, let's just do a show and tell of that stuff, because each one of you has a specific goal, and I don't have the right word, but you're each working on I'll just say project, right? And what has to support that is your social media. And what we're finding is we have to be consistent. And admittedly, because Crystal and I are doing this for 5 clients, we're not doing it for Vey very much. And so we're actually carving out time. And I'm like, we're going to now do the same system that we're doing for our clients for Vey. And we're just going to do it. I don't care. Come hell or high water, we're pushing ourselves to do it, because we're seeing the results with our clients. And so what I want to do with you guys as a group is have an end goal in X amount of months. And I don't know what it is, because this is Crystal and I engaging the field with you guys, is if we teach you guys our method and push you guys and kind of handhold along the way, at the end of X amount of months, you're going to have all this content, because we're literally going to take it and do it step by step. And so this is what we're doing. We're starting with this. We're teaching you this because there's a lot of AI programs in the mix. Because at the end of, let's say 6 months, let's say Crystal and I want to form a different group where we say, we're going to sell this method, the Vey method. And in 6 months, we're going to teach you guys how to form, a year's worth of content, but you're going to get that on month 2, whatever. That's what I want to do, is see if we can show you guys how to do this, because you guys need it anyway. So it's our forcing function of, we've developed a method. I want to teach this method, and I want you guys to benefit from it. Not just show you Opus over here, Otter over here, ChatGPT. I mean, all that stuff I want to do, because I also know that the way that I learn is show and tell, and I want to get to specific things because there's different things that come up with all of you guys, and that's what makes this interesting. And so if we made it like a course that was like, this is what we're doing every week, I think we would all hate it, right? So I want to kind of start like using, and this today was a little different because we had a longer catch up, because honestly, you didn't miss much, Tracy, because I think that the 2 times you were out, one time we canceled and one time it was just Renee because Jenny hadn't started yet and Jen was sick. So we're all basically at the same spot again. And so it's just a good spot to say like, okay, let's go back through and do this, and kind of go over that. But because we're so running out of time, I do want to address the, so we'll get with that. So you guys, Crystal and I will come up with in the next, questions to give you guys. You guys can come up with questions also, and then we can make it a point to whether you do it within these 2 weeks, or we say, okay, let's have you guys interview each other, maybe stay on the Zoom the next time or whatever, to make it work, so it's not like overwhelming. Because I also think it will help if you have the questions beforehand and Crystal and I do our show and tell of an example of, here's an interview we did, and now let me show you the 25 pieces of content that we got out of the first 15 minutes of that interview, because that's what we're doing. We're creating lots of different content that goes beyond video, that's working on all platforms. And that will be a good lesson for Jenny too, because that's what you would do with your clients when you start bringing in more clients, is like, okay, this is how we have to do it. And this is all us engaging the field. Again, if Crystal and I recently listened to the thing that I did in Missoula, where I told them like, you have to go engage the field to figure and get the data, because it was almost a year ago that Crystal and I went up north to get out of the heat to plan our group coaching curriculum. I'm glad we spent a couple days doing that, because we haven't implemented one thing from that trip.
Not
We
even.
didn't know. We didn't know. It's like, we literally didn't know. You guys are helping us know. This is what we're doing. Us going and getting clients and doing it is helping us, because we're learning what's working for them. So it's not like we just took a course online and now we know online marketing and we're coming and teaching it to you. We're actually engaging the field and implementing our strategies, and we're seeing what works and what doesn't, so it's kind of fun and exciting when I get pissy that I'm cutting up clips like I did 15 years ago. And I'm like, this isn't, I've started my own business to spend 2 days a week cutting up clips. And then I'm like, wait a minute, these clips are actually super cool, because it's all a bunch of entrepreneurs who are teaching me a bunch of cool stuff. And I'm actually developing a curriculum and a strategy and a method with Crystal. And I actually get to go engage the field with real clients and see what works and what doesn't. And we have really cool clients that are all about it. They're like, yeah, iterate. Yeah, engage the field. Yeah, pivot, So anyway.
So just to punctuate something that Eve said though, and I think this is really, really important for us, regardless of where we're at in our journey. One of my favorite quotes, and I always get it wrong, which is terrible, but like, when man makes plans, God laughs. And I think that's like what Eve said about our trip last year is exactly that. We went in and we were like, this is what we're going to do. And this is what we're going to do. And this is what, and without having taken the time to like see where everyone was at, we would have made these plans. And like, I promise nobody would have signed up. Like, nobody would have signed up, because it was so not what people needed. It's so not what you guys need. So the moral of the story is, don't get too caught up in your plans. Don't get too obsessed with your plans, because the truth is, without spending that time engaging and figuring out, you don't know what's actually going to move. You know what I mean? You don't know what, and I think Joe said this recently in an interview too with you, Eve, was, there's what I wanted to sell, and then there's what the market wanted, and those are not always the same thing. So just be flexible with what you're doing, be flexible with your plans, and have a plan. But don't be married to it, because you never know where the sides are going to take you. If we had stuck to what we originally thought, we wouldn't be doing this. And what a tragedy to have missed out on all of the amazing things you've been able to do the past year. So don't get too stuck on that plan. Just be flexible. Go with the colors of the wind. And I thought of your trees, Tracy. And I was like, Colors of the Wind, Pocahontas. Any Disney.
Okay, so since we're almost out of time, I am just going to give a little synopsis on the press release, and we will go over that too. So that's something that whether we do it, I mean, Renee, we will do it one-on-one so you can get it, but it is something I want to do in this group, but I'm not going to bring up ChatGPT just because of time. But what I told Renee is Renee wrote this really good press release that talked a lot about her book, and the simple way to do a press release, and I was forced to do press releases when I worked for a producer in LA, and had no idea. And he's the one that actually taught me. He's just like, what you do is you pretty much write the article for them, right? So it is weird because we're talking about ourselves. And so we will send you guys, and Crystal, will you just jot this down? Because I will give you guys an example of a press release, because it really is a formula. And then we'll also give you a prompt that I use to do it, because you want to look at it. And this is a case in point how it works is when I went to Montana and was speaking at this conference, Beast Your Biz on AI, I looked at Crystal and I go, why don't we just write a press release and do it? Why not try to get press? This is stuff that we're teaching people how to do. Let's do it. And so I had Crystal write the press release, and then I rewrote it because, again, I have a lot of experience doing it. And I knew what to sell because I was selling AI, and I was also selling my experience, knowing who my audience was. My audience was journalists in Missoula and Helena, Montana, so a very small market, and that they would be impressed that I was a Hollywood producer. And I can say I was a Hollywood producer because I did produce in LA, right? And so we wrote this press release that was basically saying, like, okay, Montana native, ASU alumni, right? Like, what are things that they're going to want to like tout, is coming back to speak at this conference. And I'm going to talk on AI and how AI is going to help small businesses in the future. So that was kind of the headline, and we kind of gave it. So I gave them a few different options of like, what is going to make them want to publish this, right? What is the story? The story isn't about that Renee wrote a book. The story can be, and we can come up with this, and this is where I don't have the answer off the top of my head, but this is where I would put this stuff into ChatGPT or generative AI, giving the demo. Who is your audience? Who are the press outlets? And what are stories that are gonna take, right? It's a lifestyle story, and you have many different angles that you could go, and we'll figure that out, right? And then I wrote it for them in that sense. I gave them a paragraph on my experience in LA. And I mentioned the stuff that even though I only worked for Dr. Phil for 10 minutes, those 10 minutes, really, it was like 6 months, but people know Dr. Phil. So Dr. Phil, you know, worked on award-winning show or whatever we wrote, worked for Hollywood producer Larry Kasanoff, worked for MTV. Like, we gave the buzz things. So gave them just a little nugget on that, gave them a little nugget on how that transitioned into the AI, did a couple of quotes, right? So gave my own statement, right? What is a sound bite? What is a quote that they can just rip from? And then gave them information on the conference that I was speaking at. And it worked, right? It worked so well that the Helena Independent, which is the main newspaper, probably the only main newspaper in Helena, they didn't interview me. They just literally took the press release and wrote their own thing. They're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I also sent them photos, right? They were AI generated photos, which was hilarious because we didn't give any context. So my headshot was an AI generated photo, which a lot of friends from high school are like, you look so good. I'm like, yeah, that was AI. I didn't say that though. I'm like, thank you. Right. And so that was the rip and print, right? If you've worked in news, you know that a lot of times stuff comes in off the AP wire, and they just go put their own spin on it because they don't have time. Journalists don't have time for some of these stories, and they're looking for stories. So they're looking, like, they have these little meetings and they come together and they're like, okay, what are we going to do? And so it's like, you want to give them something that's like, okay, I can fill my quota, but it has to be interesting, right? And when most of the work's already done for them, then it's great, right? And then, so that was the rip and read work. And then the other part, which I thought was so fascinating, was then a local journalist from a TV station wanted to interview me. Now, she was very green. For those of us that worked in television, she interviewed me for 45 minutes, and I knew full well that it was going to be a minute 30 package. I'm like, this gal is fresh off the bus. But I also think she was smart because she asked me a lot of questions about LA, and I don't think she had any plan to use it. I think that was for her own knowledge, right? So she wanted, like, literally spent a lot of time asking, how did I go from Montana to LA? How did I get into LA? What was my experience? Blah, 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 blah. And then asked me a bunch of questions on AI. The package, which we have not posted on yet, because as Crystal said, you don't look bad, Eve, but that's not, you are sitting under like fluorescent lights. The newbie didn't put any light on me, and I swear I look like I'm 10 years older, but we'll still post it because I'm not vain.
You can tell that that girl that was shooting it was 22. That girl, like, she's not old enough to know that lighting is a thing that we need to pay attention to. So I was like, but Eve is beautiful, so it's good.
So-
We're being nitpicky, but still.
But what's funny is, so she interviewed me, right? And the whole entire package was on AI. Nothing to do with any of the Hollywood, none of that stuff. 45 minutes in, I had no idea. I'm like, I don't know what she's going to do. I knew it was going to be a minute 30, right? And came out and it was great. Like, she literally talked about, she got our agenda across, which is promote our business, talk about AI. And the funny story to that is, I was walking my new dogs in this park that's right by my parents' house, and I'd become friendly with this couple who had this little chubby lab puppy named Holly, and I had been talking to them daily. And the next day when I was walking my dog, the guy looked at me and goes, because we only knew each other's dogs' names, like I couldn't remember their names. He goes, "It's AI Eve."
It's funny.
So anyway, when you guys get there, Renee, I'll help you. We'll plan a session and do that sooner than later so we can get that done. Because I also want to just give you, as Crystal said, we're going to plan out like a strategy that we're going to be able to pivot on if it's not working to get the book going. And it will start with the press release, because you just want to start generating buzz. I mean, that is the best thing. Start generating buzz and start thinking about what are some unique storylines that we can give. I mean, I literally, local children's book writer releases first book, I mean, there's a lot to it. And there's a lot that we can start doing to get that buzz going. Again, I look at the Kardashians. The Kardashians are famous for being nothing. Like, right? They generate their own buzz. That's what we're going to do. We're going to Kardashian this shit up.
Awesome.
Because am I an AI expert? Not really, but I'm beginning to be one, because I'm telling people I'm one and they're interviewing me now. And once it's in the press, it's real.
We all know that's how that works. It's true.
All right, guys, this has been amazing. Great. Thank you, guys. And we'll talk offline or in the group about the interview with you guys. Crystal and I will get together and come up with, again, the questions that we've been using, because we already have questions set aside that will help you guys. But then also think of maybe 5 questions that, Renee, you would just want to ask Tracy, and vice versa. And we'll plan that to start doing that.
Awesome.
That sounds great.
Yes,
Thank
Jenny,
you.
question.
So the thing that was coming up for me when Tracy, when you were asking questions about the why for the interview, is how we interview. And that after we are done, like media professionals doing an interview, people will say, "Oh my gosh, can I use this for my XYZ?" And every time my answer has been, "No, the network owns it now. You can't put this out there because it's property of CBS Viacom." And the thing is that we actually are extraordinary at it when we're interviewing other people. But if I were to sit and just say, "I'm the best," because let me tell you the first 10 things I missed. But if I'm having a conversation with Renee, it's really organic. you're talking to someone, your why is there, your focus is there, your heart opens in terms of like just organic, authentic conversation, right? So this was, I mean, this is what I know from being a producer and storyteller for like 30 years. And this is the most beautiful idea. So I really get it. I know you've mentioned this, Eve, but yeah, I'm really excited. It's cool.
Nice.
Yay. Thank you.
Yay. Okay, I'll go to the group on Facebook. I'm just gonna go wait there now.
Yeah, we're gonna have you guys start posting in the big group just to get more people interested in what we're doing. You know, so there'll be stuff that we'll keep the private group just for private stuff, but we're getting more organized with they, because like I said, that we're dedicating one day a week just to work on us and like, okay. And again, thank you guys for being the first ones to walk through this with us. And, you know, we'll just kind of limp along and figure it out. But we want to get more organized and figure out like the best way to do stuff. But I do know we have, I don't know how many people in our VAY group, the main one, that I'm like, if you guys are posting what you're learning and stuff like that, it just creates FOMO. And we love that, to get people that would fit in here. And again, we're not opening up enrollment right now because we're figuring out how we want to do it. And we'll just, you know, let people in that we've talked to. And like I said, Jenny was like, okay, I think I want in your group. And I'm like, you'd be great for it. This is great. Starting your own business, doing this. You've been doing it. Let's do it. Great women. So.
Exactly. And please, in the interim, like reach out to us if you have questions, like send us a DM, post in the private group if you want it private. If you have questions or if you're stuck, like say something so we can help you. Because then also if it's something that takes a minute, then we can like, if we need to make it a class, and we can make it a class. There's been so many lessons that we've done that have been at the prompting of one of you saying something to us in the interim. So please reach out and utilize us. And I put it in every newsletter except for the one I didn't send last week. Use the group, like use us. That's what we're here for.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys are so generous with your time
Yay.
and brains.
We are happy to help.
Thanks, guys. All right.
Have a great week.
Have a good 4th of July.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Bye guys. Good to see you, Jenny.
Okay. Bye. Bye. Good to see you. Okay.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Crystal and I are gonna say on. Okay, cool. Well, that worked out.
I'm going to stop. Oli, do you want to keep recording?
No. I think I'm gonna